right, welcome back to our conclusion. And as we end here, we must first see the warning here. Now, Genesis chapter 39 has taught us some lessons. Watch out for people who are like Potiphar's wife, not a good wife. She's a temptress. Watch out for people like that, right? Potiphar and his wife have a horrible marriage. They're pagans and don't worship the one true God. And so we shouldn't expect a biblical marriage here, but we should also pity them because they have a sad relationship. Unfortunately, too many marriages between Christians are not too far distant from Potiphar and his wife either. There's distrust, there's finger pointing, there's bad mouthing behind people's backs and in front of them too. There's a lack of guarding the heart against temptation, which leads to thoughts and desires, and then there's a temptation to commit adultery. Those are things we need to guard against. Now, a biblical, God-honoring marriage takes work. You have to fight against, because what Potiphar's wife and what Potiphar are doing, that's what comes natural to humans, right? Distrust, blaming, hating each other, having a relationship that just doesn't really work. You're just hanging in there. That's natural. It is. It's not natural. It's supernatural to have a relationship like the Bible describes, and that takes work. That takes a work in our own personal holiness. It takes work to overcome the sin in our own hearts. So we need to realize that the marriage relationship is it's a front. It's a battlefront on which spiritual warfare takes place. It's not it's a blessing. It's a great thing. Sometimes it's an amazing thing, but it's also a front by which Satan and the flesh and the world come up against you. That is one of the fronts that you have to guard against, that you have to set up, defense against, because that is one of the ways that Satan, the world, and the flesh want to come in and attack you. A good marriage is a target for the enemy. A weak marriage, well, that's what the lion looks around to devour people in, right? Second lesson, consider our brother Joseph here and his obedience to the Lord. I've talked to several people in my congregation about the character of Joseph. And oftentimes Joseph, is displayed as kind of an arrogant, self-centered young man who's strutting around in his coat of many colors. But if we just read the text, we don't see that at all. We don't see an arrogance or, a boasting. He does tell, his family about the dreams, but if they're a dream from God, why wouldn't you tell them about it? He's not saying, hey, I'm going to be ruling over you. Sometimes that's kind of the way people take it. It's like, if you just read the straight text, it's not really there. We don't see an arrogant spirit in him. He's obedient to his father. His father says, hey, I want you to go out to your brothers and go find them and bring back a report. He's sending Joseph. Jacob sends Joseph like he would send one of his servants, but he sent his son to go out and find the other sons. Even though Joseph is the favored son, he still is being told what to do, and he obeys. He doesn't say, well, Dad, they hate me. I'm not going to go talk to those guys. He doesn't talk back. He just goes. And he follows them, even though they weren't at Shechem, he goes to Dothan. So we see at the very beginning, he is an obedient son. And then as we go throughout, he is obedient to God throughout this story. He is obedient to his father. He works hard as a slave. He's wrongfully enslaved by his brothers. They sell him into slavery. And he works hard. He does his best to please his master. And then he's a model prisoner here. So that he works his way up. He befriends the jailer. He's kind to, he also obviously is kind and nice to the jailer. Otherwise, why would the jailer pay any attention to him? So the jailer there takes notice of Joseph, his character, the quality of a man he is, that he's trustworthy, that he's able to give this responsibility that if anything needs to be done in the jail, he can do it and he can trust him to do it, not to, try to make all these escapes and all that kind of stuff. So, he is a model prisoner. And Joseph also gives credit to God for his ability to interpret dreams. He pleads with his case that he has done nothing wrong. Joseph is not a perfect man, but he is a godly man. He's obedient to the commands of God. Did Joseph sin in his life? Of course he did. He did wrong things, but the trajectory of his life overall and what the scripture records is that he is a godly man. Psalm 128 says, "Blessed is everyone who fears the Lord, who walks in his ways. You shall eat the fruit of the labor of your hands. You shall be blessed, and it shall be well with you." That's Joseph. Now, you can turn and look at the excellent wife of, did I say life? I meant wife. The excellent wife of Proverbs 31 is a God-fearing woman whose works praise her in the gates. So if you're an obedient person, God honors you. God honors that. He says that over and over again. So Joseph, who feared God more than he feared Potiphar, more than he feared Potiphar's wayward wife, he feared God. He feared God more than the keeper of the prison. The Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made it succeed. God had a plan for Joseph that was established before time, and the same is for you and me. Your part is just to obey him. Do like Joseph, just obey him. Fear him, right? Fear the God. Don't fear other people. Fear God. Follow him, and the Lord will be with you. That's the promise. It's not complex, right? It's not hard. It's not a hard concept to understand. But the follow through is what takes the work, right? You have to obey. You have to fear the Lord only. You have to fight against the fears of man. You have to fight against the fears of all your fears. It's a full-time job. That's one of the battlefronts. Again, it's one of the things that we have to fight against. We have to prepare that we know that the enemy will attack in that place. That is a weak point, right? Our fears. That is a weak point in our wall of our stronghold. We know we need to set up extra defense there. We know we need to be careful of that position because the enemy will attack there. They're not stupid. They know where to get us, and we know where they can get us too. So we need to wall up that defense. We need to fight against that. There's temptations like Potiphar had, and Potiphar's wife. There's those things that tempt us to sin. We need to put up a wall there. They obviously had a bad marriage. There is a weakness. Enemy will attack there. So we need to watch out for those things and to fight against those. And so God, help us to do that as we go throughout our weeks. Okay, well, that's it for our study for this week. Next week, we'll start Genesis chapter 40. We'll look at that chapter and see what happens after this. We're going to come in 2 more years and see what happens, and we'll have another year. So Joseph's in jail for a while, so we're going to get to see what happens in the jail with Joseph and what does God do in his life. It's pretty awesome. So come back next week and we'll take a look at Genesis chapter 40.